Hello and welcome. You know that feeling, right? When you're stuck in a conversation at work and it's just going nowhere? Well, today we're going to talk about how to turn those super frustrating moments into actual fuel for your career. We're going to break down the skills you need for everything from handling tough disagreements to just, completely nailing your next job application. Okay, let's get into it.
So first things first, let's just be honest about it. Whether you're talking to your boss, a client, or a coworker, those workplace disagreements are a challenge for literally everyone. And they feel so difficult because, well, they're usually about way more than just the facts. But what if there was a better way? A kind of framework to help you navigate through it all? So that's where we're going to start. We're going to unpack some really powerful frameworks for dealing with conflict and those high-stakes conversations. You can think of these as the fundamental rules of the game, the kind of rules that help you turn a disagreement into actual progress.
Okay, now this is fascinating. This insight comes from the psychologist Carl Rogers, and it's a total game changer. He basically argued that when someone just won't budge on a point, it's often not about logic at all. It's about their ego. The alternative you're suggesting might feel like a threat to their identity or their self-image. Just understanding that is the key. It shifts your goal from winning an argument to understanding the person.
And that leads us to this brilliant idea from the Harvard negotiation project. See, we get stuck on positions. That's the what. I absolutely need that report by Friday. But the real breakthrough, the magic, happens when you uncover the interest. That's the why. Why do they need it by Friday? Maybe they've got a huge board meeting on Monday and they're stressed. Once you understand the why, a whole world of new solutions opens up that rigid what was keeping hidden.
So how do we actually do this? Well, this Harvard framework gives us a super practical 4-step roadmap. First, and this is so crucial, you have to separate the people from the problem. It's not you versus me. It's you and me looking at the issue together. Second, like we just said, focus on the why, the interests. Third, get creative. Brainstorm some options where you both can win. And finally, keep it fair. Base the solution on some kind of objective standard, like company policy or industry best practices. That way, it's not just a battle of who wants it more. It's a real, practical guide.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little. We're moving from those intense one-on-one talks to the place where professional communication happens day in and day out, the meeting. And we all know how easily meetings can just go completely off the rails, but they really don't have to.
You want to know the most powerful tool for a good meeting? It's a great agenda. Seriously, this is not just a to-do list. When you send it out ahead of time, you're setting clear expectations, you're telling people to come prepared, and you are massively boosting the odds that you'll actually walk away with a decision. It's really the difference between a directionless chat and a focused, productive work session.
And hey, what happens after the meeting is just as important. Don't let all those great ideas and decisions just vanish into thin air. You've got to assign someone, and make sure it's not the person leading the meeting, to take minutes. The goal here is simple. Write down the action items, who's responsible for them, and when they're due. That's how you get rid of confusion and make sure things actually get done.
Now, in our hybrid world, the kind of meeting you're in really matters, and this chart lays out the differences perfectly. When you're in person, you can rely on body language and presence, but when you're on a video call, your voice has to do all the heavy lifting. That means you got to be better prepared, you have to vary your tone to keep people from zoning out, and you need to get to the point quickly to fight off those annoying internet lags.
Okay, so we've talked about frameworks for conflict, and we've talked about meetings. But honestly, none of that stuff works without the real superpower of communication, and that is listening. And I don't mean just hearing sounds. I mean genuine, active listening. One of the core techniques here is something called reflective listening. It sounds simple, but trust me, it's incredibly powerful. All you do is, after someone speaks, you paraphrase what they just said back to them in your own words. You're not just a recording device. You're actively showing them, hey, I hear you and I get it. It builds trust and can calm a tense situation almost instantly.
Just think about it in your own life for a second. When you share an idea or a concern, what kind of response makes you feel valued and heard? And what kind of response just makes you feel foolish and shuts you down completely? The way we respond is every bit as important as the way we listen. So, a really effective response stands on these 3 pillars. First, you've got to be genuine. Be real. Be yourself. Second, you need to show acceptance. Now, this doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It just means you acknowledge their perspective as valid for them, without passing judgment. And finally, you practice empathy. You try to understand the feeling behind the words, not just the words themselves.
Okay, so how does all of this come together?
Well, every single one of these skills, negotiation, running meetings, active listening, they're all tools for crafting your professional story. And nowhere is that story more important than when you're trying to make your next big career move. So let's look at how these principles apply directly to the whole job application process. Look, before you even think about typing up a resume, you need to have a good, honest conversation with yourself. What do you actually want? What are your goals, short-term and long-term? What are you really interested in? Are you gunning for a technical expert path, or do you see yourself in management? This self-assessment is the absolute foundation. A strong application is built right on top of it.
So once you know yourself, you've got to get to know them. And doing thorough research is just non-negotiable. You have to go way beyond their homepage. Look at their annual reports. Find someone on LinkedIn who works there and ask for a quick chat. This stuff shows real initiative and lets you tailor your entire application to what they actually need.
You should think of your cover letter as your very first conversation with a potential employer. And if there is one golden rule, it's this. Make it about them, not about you. You have to frame every single skill and accomplishment as a solution to their problems. That simple shift in perspective, plus, making it look clean and addressing it to the right person, that can make all the difference in the world.
Let's be real. Your resume is not your life story. It's a marketing document. It has one single goal, to get you the interview. A recruiter might only give it a 6-second scan, so clarity is everything. Your contact info and your career goals have to be impossible to miss. And don't bury amazing qualifications like speaking another language. Your job is to make it incredibly easy for them to say, yep, let's talk to this person.
And finally, please don't forget the people who are going to vouch for you. Managing your references is a really important communication task. You always have to ask for their permission first, make sure they actually have a positive view of you, and give them a heads up when they might get a call. Trust me, a surprise referee is almost never a good referee.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground here, from deep conflict theory all the way to resume tips. So let's bring it all together into a final powerful toolkit that you can start using, well, today.
When it all comes down to it, mastering professional communication is about these 3 things. In any conversation, look past what people say they want, their position, and try to understand why they want it, their interest. Practice reflective listening to prove you actually get it. And for any important interaction, a meeting, a negotiation, a job application, do your homework. Prepare, prepare, prepare.
And that's our explainer. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you have these tools, what's the one conversation you have coming up, big or small, that you're going to handle just a little bit differently tomorrow? Thanks for watching.